friendly meals are what we do right here in the kitchen of Ebony Ivy and Thyme, and today we're preparing two. So I wanted you to have a choice this week of two items that you could put in your repertoire of meals. Hello, I'm Leona Dooley, and this is Ebony Ivy and Thyme. And you are always welcome into the kitchen. Now, today we're going to be putting together a delicious meatless meal. And I want you to stay right there because we're going to start in just a second. We're going to start this delicious meatless comfort dish by adding 1 cup of vegetable stock into this skillet. This skillet is non-stick and very lightweight, but you can use it on an electric stove, a gas stove, or even an induction stove. So it was definitely worth the purchase and so reasonable in cost. Mrs. Dash is a great all-round seasoning for most of your meatless meals. And I'm going to add first about a heaping teaspoon of Mrs. Dash. And then as I taste the dish while we're cooking, I may add a little more. But I'll put the final recipe in the description box. Nutritional yeast has become my go-to seasoning, and this one is very savory. The next season that I'm adding is called Bada Bing Bouillon Unami. How about that for a name? Let your seasonings cook in this vegetable broth for just a few minutes. And the reason for that is because once this starts to bubble, then we'll add the onions and let them cook, and then also add the cabbage, put the top on it, and that baby is going to be ready in about 10 to 15 minutes. Now, if you like your cabbage very, very, very done, then it might take a few more minutes, but I like mine cooked but not overcooked. The onions and cabbage were actually prepped earlier, and I placed them into this container with water and sat them inside the refrigerator so that everything would stay nice and fresh, and when it was time for dinner, that the actual preparing of the recipe would be very quick and easy. So we're going to take the onions out, put them into that delicious broth, and let them simmer. And once they get to the doneness that you want, you'll start to add the cabbage. Several subscribers talked about or asked the question of what is the benefit of nutritional yeast. So we're going to talk about that while we're simmering our sauces and our onions and our cabbage. Now, nutritional yeast is a great source of essential nutrients like our B vitamins, and it also has protein and fiber and minerals like zinc and selenium. It's also used as a supplement for vegans and vegetarians to make sure that they get enough B12, which is primarily found in animal products. It's a complete protein. It's also low in calories and fat. It can enhance the flavor of your dish by adding a nice, savory umami flavor that's just a little cheesy or a little nutty, depending upon your taste buds. It's a great alternative for cheese. It also boosts your immune system by adding the vitamins and the minerals. It supports your digestive health by adding the fiber that your body needs. And it is thought that it might even lower your cholesterol when you use it. And certainly it's a great gluten-free option. We're also going to simmer a pot of tofu. Now, you know, tofu is a really versatile and nutritious soy-based food. And it is nutrient dense, it's high in protein, and contains all of the essential amino acids that your body needs. I like to cube mine, give it a little saute on all sides, and you'll notice I'm not using any oil in this entire recipe, nor am I adding any salt. If you can incorporate cabbage into your diet and into the diet of your family, you are certainly giving them a highly beneficial vegetable. And that's because it's rich in vitamin C, fiber, and vitamin K. Now, they say that actually cabbage can support your digestion, giving you a good gut, and also helps to decrease inflammation in your body. Cabbage is low in calories and it's really high in fiber. So that gives you an excellent option for maintaining a healthy digestive tract. So let's add cabbage in whatever form that we can to our menu. You'll notice that I'm using a non-stick skillet for the tofu, and I'm going to continue to just move them around. The heat is on a medium high because I want to toast each of the sides. I just like tofu when it has a little more bite. And so I have attempted to take as much liquid off of it by cooking it rather slowly. But then also, we're not really frying it, but it's going to look somewhat fried by the time we finish. We've talked a lot about tasting along the way, making sure that you taste your food. And the reason for that is so that if you need to make any adjustments in the seasonings, you can do that the second time around. The first batch of seasoning is just to make sure that you have a good base. But the second time that you go through and you start to add in seasonings, you want that taste to be absolutely perfect and on point. The cabbage is ready. I have baked a couple of potatoes, and of course the tofu is nice and toasty. So we're going to start to put our plates together, and I'll show you what they look like. Well, there you have our healthy skillet cabbage. But you know what? Don't go anywhere because we have a vegetarian chili that is going to knock your socks off. And you're going to love it because number one, there's no oil. Number two, there's no salt. And there's going to be tons of flavor. So get ready. Put your aprons on because you're not going to want to miss this vegetarian chili. It's going to be so easy, and you know what? We're going to do it in our Instapot, which is going to make it even more hands off. So let's get started. Put your apron. So like I said, today's recipe is going to be started in the Instant Pot. So let's get going, and we're going to have a delicious meal for dinner tonight. So in the pot, I'm going to start with the base, which is going to be one 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes, because we want this to be very, very hearty. And you know, I have a little bit in there, so later I'm going to add just a tiny bit of broth to this and get it all washed out. I'm also going to add in a can of chili ready diced tomatoes. Now, chili ready means that it already has a little bit of chili flavoring in it, but it's going to give it great flavor. I'm also going to add in some tomato paste, because remember, this is a vegetarian meal. We're not going to have any meat in it. So because of that, it's going to need all the body that we can give it. So I'm going to add in about, let's see, this can is a 6-ounce can, and we're going to put all of it in. And yes, we're going to need to rinse this out, because we don't want to leave any of that flavor in the can. So we've got our tomatoes and our tomato paste in, and you can see that the consistency is starting to get nice and thick already, but we're not finished yet. So there's our can. These 2 cans we're going to fill with some broth. All right, I'm also going to add in 2 peppers. These are chili peppers, and I'm going to keep them just like this, so that toward the end I can just pull them out. But we're going to let them add the flavor that we want. And I think for one of them, I'm actually going to use my scissors, cut it open, and let some of those seeds fall into the chili, because we do have some seeds that are in there. So I'm just going to let those fall in. I'm going to take the stems off, because I don't want them in the chili. There we go. Ooh, they smell wonderful. All right, so I'm going to put those in. So we've got our peppers in. I'm also going to add a small can of green chilies, but I'll do that in just a little while. Now, with this vegetarian chili, I'm going to add 3 different kinds of beans. I'm going to add pinto beans, navy beans, and black beans. So let's get those added. We're draining and rinsing these beans. So that's our black beans. Got them all out. I'm going to give them a little rinse, and then add them. Here's our navy beans. We're going to do likewise. Put them all in the can. And rinse those off. And we're going to add the pinto beans. And we're going to rinse those as well. We're rinsing off the starch, the excess starch, and some of the preservatives that they might put into the cans, as well as some of that extra salt. So those 3 types of beans are in the mix. I'm taking some of our vegetable stock, and I'm going to add it to the tomato paste. Give that a good stir, so we can get any excess paste that may be in it. I'm going to throw that into the other can, because we don't want to waste any. Make sure we got everything. And then we're going to add more, about a cup of vegetable stock, into our tomatoes, just to make sure we get everything out. And throw that into our pot. You'll see it's nice and clean. We're adding 1 diced green pepper that I prepped in advance. Now, we're going to cut up 2 onions. I'm sure you know that in order to have your family on board for those sugar-free meals, that you have to make sure that it is full of flavor. And flavor is always important. So we're dicing this onion up as small as we can get it. And then we're going to add our little green chilies that are already chopped, 1 can. And if you like more, you can certainly add 2, but I don't think we're going to need it. I think this 1 is going to be enough, so that's half of 1 onion. And you'll notice as we go along, when we start to add our seasonings, you're going to see some seasonings that we've been using over and over in our meatless cooking. And that's because they are so flavor packed that we just don't want to leave them out. They're going to include everything we need. And we want it to be easy and delicious for those of us who are doing the cooking. You know, the home cook has to take care of the health of the family. So our onion, that's 1. Let me give this a stir, and then I'll decide if we need a second onion. We might. I think we'll be good. We'll add a little onion powder to this, and once we do that, I think we'll be just fine. Now let's add our can of diced green chilies. This is one of those additions that is straight out of Mexico. Green chilies. Give that a good stir. And I want you to see it because it is very colorful. You can see our pepper that we have, that we added. There's another one in there. We just can't find it at this point. But this is a very hearty meal. Okay, so let's start to add those spices. One very important seasoning in Tex-Mex cooking is ground cumin. Chili is not chili without ground cumin. So we're going to add really about 3 tablespoons of ground chili because we need that depth of flavor. And without it, you know your chili is just not going to be what you want. Okay, next we're going to add the chili powder. And we're going to start off with, let's see if I can get that in there. Nope, I'm going to need another spoon. I'm going to use my go-to wooden spoon. There's 1, 2, and we're going to add almost an equal amount of chili. Now I'm not going to overdo the chili powder because I already know I'm probably going to have to come back and add a little bit after it cooks. But we're going to get all of that mixed. Smells wonderful. It smells like it ought to be ready for the table already, but we know it hasn't cooked yet. So just imagine how good it's going to be once we have a chance to cook this. Let's give it a little taste. That's pretty good. All right, I'm going to add just a couple of dashes of oregano, just a little, about a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon. I'm going to add a few dashes. I think I have some hot sauce open. So I'm going to add a few dashes of Frank's, just to give it that elevated flavor. And in fact, I'm using up all I have in my bottle that's left over from the big guy. And you know, those kind of things are optional, and how much you add in there is optional. Now, I'm going to add just a tad bit more vegetable stock because while I want this to be nice and thick, we know that the beans are going to soak up any liquids that are in there, but remember, this is a soup, so we need a little liquid. All right, I'm going to put in about an additional cup of vegetable stock. Until we see the consistency that I want. You can serve this over rice. You can serve it with pasta. There we go. Oh yeah, that's what we want. Now let me get my teaspoon. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Now, add just a smidgen more. Here we go, because it still has to cook. All right, this is ready. We're almost ready to get it into our Instapot. Now we're going to add one more thing. If you have a bottle of salsa that is sitting in your refrigerator, just waiting to be finished up, this is a good time to use it. Now I'm going to add 1, 2, 3 tablespoons of salsa to our mix. Mine just happens to be an organic salsa that I get at Costco when I go. Oh yeah, that's going to elevate your chili flavor immediately. Now, let's get it into the Instapot. I've got it here. Let me get it plugged in. And let's get the top on it. All right, let's get set. Our menu is going to be P2 and start. I hope you have had an absolutely fabulous time in the kitchen of Ebony Ivy Thyme, because I've certainly enjoyed your being here. Now, we're going to put a bowl of this chili together, and I'm going to give you a chance to just savor and have a good time with that. So, I'm not going to say another word. I want you to have a blessed and wonderful dinner. I hope you have had an absolutely fabulous time in the kitchen of Ebony Ivy Thyme, and add this to next week's meal plan.